What if the life you are chasing is already here? What if everything you've ever wanted is hiding in a single moment you keep running past? Right now, you are breathing. Right now, your heart is beating. Right now, something inside you is waiting to be awakened. But tell me, when was the last time you were truly here? Not trapped in yesterday, not racing into tomorrow, but fully, dangerously alive in this exact second. You have searched for peace and success, for meaning and approval, for happiness and the future, and yet the silence inside you still feels loud. What if the problem was never the world out there, but the storm in your mind? Tonight, you are not just listening to an audiobook. You are stepping through a doorway. Welcome to The Power of Now, a quiet revolution written by Eckhart Tolle, not to inform your mind, but to set your soul on fire. This is not a book. It is an awakening, a mirror, a return to something ancient you forgot you ever knew. Here, the noise fades, the masks fall, time loosens its grip, and for the first time in a long time, you may finally come home to yourself. Are you ready to meet the moment that can change everything? Now, let's begin the audiobook. If you are ready, let me open the very first page of this journey. Chapter 1: Awakening from Mental Noise. Close your eyes for just a moment. Now listen. Can you hear it? That quiet background noise inside your mind, the constant commentary, the judging, the remembering, the worrying, the replaying of old conversations, the rehearsal of future disasters that haven't even happened yet. That noise has been with you for so long you no longer question it. You think it is you. But what if it isn't? What if the thoughts in your head are not your identity, but only visitors passing through your consciousness? Most people have never truly experienced a quiet mind, not because silence is difficult, but because we have been trained from childhood to live inside thinking. We were taught how to remember. We were taught how to plan. We were taught how to imagine. But no one ever taught us how to stop. So now, the mind runs your life. It narrates every moment, interprets every emotion, judges every choice, and you, unknowingly, became a prisoner of your own thinking. Here is the uncomfortable truth. The mind is a wonderful servant, but a terrible master. When awareness disappears, the mind takes over completely, and when the mind takes over, suffering begins. Take a look at your own life. Stress, anxiety, regret, restlessness, fear of the future, anger at the past, the feeling that something is always missing. This is not life. This is mental noise disguised as existence. Some people think they have problems, but in reality, most people don't have life problems. They have mind problems. And the mind's greatest lie is convincing you that you are it, that every thought is you, that every emotion defines you, that every fear must be believed. But awareness changes everything. Because the moment you observe a thought, you are no longer that thought. You become the watcher. And that single shift is where freedom begins. Right now, as you listen to this, notice something. There is sound, there are words, there is listening, but behind all of it, there is something else. A quiet presence, a still awareness. That awareness is not loud, it does not rush,
It does not argue. It simply is. The ancient problem of humanity is not suffering alone. It is unconsciousness, living on autopilot, reacting instead of choosing, thinking instead of being. We eat without tasting. We walk without noticing. We speak without listening. We live without living. And yet, peace has always been here, not hidden, not far, not locked behind years of struggle. It is closer than your next breath. But the mental noise is so loud that we cannot hear it. The mind is addicted to problems, not because it loves pain, but because it feeds on identity. If you lose your story of sadness, if you release your story of anger, if you let go of your story of failure, the mind feels like it is disappearing, and that frightens it. Because the mind survives through drama. It doesn't want silence. It wants content. It wants conflict. It wants identity. Now let me ask you something important. Who would you be without your story, without the past you constantly replay, without the future you fear, without the image you protect, without the role you play? What remains? Not emptiness, presence. Not nothingness, consciousness. Not loss, freedom. The moment you step out of thinking, you step into power. This does not mean you stop thinking forever. It means you stop being trapped inside thinking. It means thoughts become tools, not tyrants. You use the mind, but it does not use you. And this happens the moment you become aware of being aware. You don't need to escape your mind. You need to notice it. Awareness dissolves the prison. Silence opens the door. And the moment you walk into stillness, a different intelligence takes over. Not loud, not forceful, but infinitely wiser. Life flows. Decisions become simpler. Fear loosens its grip. Clarity rises naturally. And something extraordinary happens. You start feeling alive again, not rushed, not pressured, not lost, just here, fully here, present. There is a peace so deep it doesn't depend on circumstances, not on money, not on people, not on success, not on approval. It comes from being, from awareness, from presence. You were never meant to live inside your head. You were meant to live in the now. But the mind resists this shift. It whispers, stay busy. Stay worried, stay distracted, stay anxious, because awareness weakens it, and silence ends its control. So it fights back, with more thoughts, more doubts, more noise. But this battle cannot be won through force, only through watching. Mindfulness is the light. Awareness is the sword. Presence is the shield, and the battle is already over the moment you see the truth. You are not broken. You are unconscious. And unconsciousness can end. Not tomorrow, not someday. Now. Not through effort, through awareness. Not by changing life, by seeing it clearly. And that is where this journey begins, with one simple truth. You are not the voice in your head. You are the one who hears it. And once you realize that, nothing will ever be the same again. Because if awareness can free you from your mind, then what would happen if it also freed you from time itself?
Chapter 3. Entering the Present Moment. What if the door you've been searching for your entire life has always been open? And what if all you had to do was step into this moment? If peace were a place, you would stop traveling. If happiness were an object, you would stop collecting. If freedom were a future, you would stop waiting. But it is none of these. Freedom is not somewhere you go. It is somewhere you arrive. And that place is now. The present moment is not an idea. It is not a concept. It is not something the mind can store. The present moment is an experience, and experience must be entered, not understood. Think about it. You can describe water, but you cannot quench thirst with description. You can explain fire, but explanation cannot warm you. In the same way, you can talk about now, but you cannot live it through words. You must step into it, and that step is awareness. The present moment is simple, so simple that the mind misses it. It expects drama, it expects fire, it expects prediction, but now is silent, subtle, unannounced, like a breath, like a heartbeat, like the space between your thoughts. And that is the doorway most people never notice. Try something right now. As you listen, stop trying. Just listen to listening. Don't analyze the words. Don't interpret the meaning. Simply be aware that you are aware. Feel that shift? That tiny softness in attention, that calm widening of space. That is presence, not excitement, not intoxication, not emotion. Presence is a grounded clarity, a quiet alertness, a still flame that never flickers, even when life storms. In presence, time becomes thin. Thought becomes optional. Fear becomes distant. Presence does not argue with the mind. It watches it, and that watching is what melts it. Every emotion loses intensity when you allow it to be seen. Every thought loses urgency when you refuse to chase it. Every fear dissolves when it cannot pull you into imagination. This is not control. This is release. This is not discipline. This is surrender. Not surrender to weakness, but surrender to reality. Surrender to what already is. The mind tries to dominate life. Presence merges with it, and merging always wins. Do not try to silence your thoughts. That is just another thought fighting a thought. Instead, shift where you are listening from. Listen not with the mind, but from behind the mind. That place exists, not as a location, but as identity. Notice your breath. Do not change it. Do not judge it. Just feel it. The air enters. The air leaves. Something inside you is watching. That watcher is real, and it is not thinking. This is how you step into the present moment, not through effort, but through attention. Watch the mind with compassion, not as an enemy, but as a child throwing tantrums. Let it be, but do not obey it. You can have a thought
without being swallowed by it. You can feel an emotion without becoming possessed by it. But only one thing can make that possible: awareness. This is not philosophy. This is practice. This is not escape. This is power. Presence does not escape pain. It transforms it. Pain becomes sensation. Fear becomes energy. Sadness becomes movement. When you stop labeling, experience stops hurting. It starts teaching. This is the great illusion of the ego, that I must understand everything to be at peace. No, you don't. Understanding comes from overthinking. Peace comes from being. The less you interpret, the more life reveals itself. Presence shows you reality before opinion, truth before judgment, and love before fear. You will notice something strange as you practice staying present. You will begin to feel space, not outside, inside. Thoughts slow, reactions pause, and suddenly you respond instead of react. You choose instead of defend, and life feels softer, not because it changed, but because you changed how you meet it. Presence does not make life perfect. It makes you free within it. Instead of fighting waves, you learn to float. Instead of drowning in thoughts, you learn to breathe. The mind will say, "This is boring. This is pointless. This is useless." But that is because the ego feeds on noise. Silence starves it. Stillness suffocates it. Presence disarms it. And when the ego weakens, something deeper wakes up. A presence so rich it needs nothing. A peace so full it cannot be improved. A sense of being so complete that it cannot be threatened. This peace does not depend on confidence. It depends on clarity, not on circumstances, on consciousness. And once you taste it, even for 1 second, you will never forget. Never. Because now you know it exists. And knowing changes everything. The challenge is not entering the present moment. The challenge is staying when the ego screams for control again. And it will. Oh, it will. It hates irrelevance. But from now on, you know the way back. To breath, to awareness, to now. Every moment becomes a choice. Presence or programming. Peace or patterns. Life or living through memory and imagination. You cannot live in two places. You are either here or trapped in time. You cannot serve two masters, the mind or awareness, and the one you feed will grow. And if being present dissolves time and quiets the mind, then who is the you that remains when all illusions fall away?
Chapter 4. The False Self. Ego Unmasked. What if the you think you are is only a story? And what if that story is the very thing keeping you from freedom? Take a moment to reflect. Who are you really? Not your job, not your family, not your social media profile, not the titles, awards, or achievements. Who are you beneath all of that? Most people never ask themselves this question. Most people live inside the identity their mind has created for them. An identity built on thought, memory, fear, and desire. This identity is the ego. The ego is not evil. It is not something you can destroy. It is simply false. It is a mental construct that thrives on separation, comparison, and survival. The ego always says, I am my thoughts. I am my story. I am my possessions. I am my failures and my successes. It lives in the past, reliving mistakes and wounds. It lives in the future, craving security, approval, or triumph. And the ego is very clever. It whispers, if you are not this, you are nothing. Because it depends on your belief in it. Its power is your attention. Its life is your fear. Here's the thing. The ego is very fragile. It cannot withstand the present moment. It cannot survive silence. It cannot endure awareness. Why? Because the ego is identification, and identification is always temporal. It comes from memory, comparison, and thought. So when you step into the present moment, when you watch your thoughts, feel your breath, or simply notice being, something extraordinary happens. The ego begins to lose control. And this is terrifying for it. It reacts. It creates drama. It manufactures fear. It forces you back into old patterns. It tries to convince you that you are incomplete without its story. But this is where freedom begins. To disarm the ego, you do not fight it. You simply watch it. You notice its tricks, its lies, its whispers. For example, you feel anger. The ego says, this is who you are. This is your pain. You must hold it. But awareness sees, this is anger. I am observing it. And suddenly, the identification dissolves. The emotion still exists, but it no longer defines you. The ego feeds on comparison. It says, I am better than them. I am worse than them. I must prove myself. And so your life becomes a series of competitions, judgments, and insecurities. Awareness ends this game. Presence does not judge. Presence simply observes. Presence does not measure. Presence simply is. The ego also thrives on labels. It loves defining you and others. It tells you you are this kind of person, or they are that kind of person. It divides life into friend or enemy, good or bad, success or failure. And yet beneath all labels, life is one, undivided, whole. To meet the ego for what it is, you must stop identifying with it. Not by resisting, not by criticizing, not by hating it, but by seeing it clearly. When you see the ego, it begins to fade. When you recognize it, you are no longer its prisoner. And here is the most profound part. You were never the ego in the first place. The ego was never you. You are awareness itself, the watcher, the observer, the being behind thought. Imagine a movie playing on a screen. The characters fight, argue, and chase each other. They suffer, they rejoice. But the screen itself remains untouched, unaffected, silent, still. That screen is you. The mind, the ego, the story are only the images projected upon it. This realization is subtle at first, like a small crack of light in a dark room, but it grows, it spreads, it begins to illuminate every corner of thought, emotion, and habit. And yet the ego resists, because it knows if you awaken fully, its entire world will collapse. It will try to trick you. Look at your accomplishments. Look at your failures. Look at the world outside. Without me, you will be nothing. But you have learned the first secret. You are already everything, already enough, already free. Freedom is not a reward. It is the recognition of what always was. The false self exists only because you believe it is you. It crumbles the moment you stop believing. It vanishes in the light of awareness. It melts in the warmth of presence. And then something beautiful happens. You begin to see the world without filters. You feel life without judgment. You experience people without expectation. You hear sounds, feel sensations, and breathe without interference. The ego is clever, but it is limited. Awareness is infinite. The ego says, I need more. I need approval. I need recognition. Awareness simply is. The ego clings to identity. Presence knows it is beyond all identities. This is the doorway to liberation. And once you step through it, you begin to live for the first time. Not for a story, not for a role, not for a title, but for life itself. And when the false self finally loses its grip, you discover another force hiding within, the pain body that has been silently controlling your emotions all along.
Chapter 5. The pain body within you. What if the deepest suffering in your life isn't happening outside of you? And what if it's a hidden force living quietly inside, waiting to control you? Everyone carries pain. Not the simple passing discomfort of life, but deep, accumulated emotional pain. Unacknowledged grief, old anger, long forgotten hurt. These are the shadows that linger in the mind and the body. Eckhart Tolle calls this the pain body, a semi-autonomous energy field fueled by negative emotions living inside most people. The pain body is ancient. It is inherited from the past, your own and that of your ancestors. It thrives on reactivity. It feeds on fear, guilt, resentment, and any form of emotional drama. Most people are unaware it exists, yet you feel it. Have you ever reacted to something minor? A single comment, a look, a small inconvenience, and found yourself exploding in anger, sadness, or frustration far beyond reason? That was your pain body. It does not think rationally. It does not negotiate. It simply acts. It triggers memories, fuels emotions, and keeps you trapped in old suffering. The mind often takes the blame. I lost control. I overreacted. I cannot stop feeling this way.
But the truth is, the mind is simply the vehicle. The driver is the pain body. It thrives when you are unconscious. It wants to relive its history. It wants validation. It wants company. It wants to ensure that the old pain never disappears. And here's the key. The pain body cannot live in the present moment. Awareness, presence, and attention weaken it instantly. The moment you observe the reaction without judgment, without identification, you stop feeding it. Suddenly, its energy diminishes. The first step is recognition. When a strong emotion arises, pause. Ask, is this mine or is this my pain body? If it is the pain body, do not suppress it. Do not fight it. Do not attach a story to it. Simply witness it. Feel it as energy. Notice it as a presence, and let it pass. It's the same with habitual anger, resentment, or guilt. The pain body is not permanent. It is a visitor. But until you see it, it will control you. Imagine a storm raging inside. You cannot stop the wind. You cannot hold back the rain. But if you stop resisting, if you simply observe the storm, it will eventually subside. Presence is the shelter. Consciousness is the shield. Every time you refuse to identify with the pain body, every time you return to now, it loses strength. Some people fear their own emotional energy. They avoid feeling. They distract themselves with work, entertainment, or noise. But avoidance strengthens the pain body. It feeds on denial. The path to freedom is through awareness, not around it. Here's an important truth. The pain body can only survive if you feed it with thought and identification. Every time you say, I am angry, I am hurt, I am anxious, you are feeding it. When you say, I feel anger, I observe it, you are withdrawing the energy. You are reclaiming power. And this reclamation is liberation. The pain body is also contagious. It activates when it meets another pain body. Ever notice how arguments escalate? How anger spreads in a room? How sadness drags everyone down? Two pain bodies meeting can create explosive emotional storms. Presence dissolves it. Awareness stops the cycle. Even a single calm observer can prevent pain bodies from dominating. And here's the final point for this chapter. The pain body is not your enemy. It is a teacher. It is showing you where consciousness is lacking. It is revealing the areas where identification with thought and emotion has become unconscious. Every time the pain body triggers, you have a choice: unconscious reaction or conscious observation. React, and you are its prisoner. Observe, and you are free. And once you begin to observe consistently, you discover something astonishing. The energy that once trapped you now transforms. Pain becomes awareness. Emotion becomes presence. Suffering becomes a doorway to life you never knew existed. This is not theory. It is practice. It is a skill cultivated in the simplest moments. A pause before reacting. A breath taken consciously. A thought witnessed and released. And one day, the pain body stops controlling your life. You stop reliving old wounds. You stop projecting fear into the future. You stop being dominated by energy that is not yours. And in that space, true freedom emerges. But if awareness can weaken the pain body, what happens when presence also transforms your everyday life, your work, and your relationships in ways you never imagined?
Chapter 6. Freedom through Awareness. What if the key to ending suffering was already inside you, waiting silently? And what if the only thing standing between you and freedom was the way you pay attention? Freedom is not something you achieve in the future. It is not found in wealth, success, or approval. It is not earned. It is not given. Freedom is already present. It exists in the very moment you realize you were aware. Awareness is the most powerful tool you have. It is both the light and the path. Most of the time, we are unconscious. We live in thought loops, reacting without realizing why. We allow memories, fears, and expectations to drive our lives. And the result? Stress, pain, a sense of being trapped. But here is the good news. The moment you become aware, you step out of that trap. Awareness is the observer. It is the silent witness of all thoughts, emotions, and sensations. It does not judge, it does not fix, it does not resist. It simply watches. And in that watching, the mind loses its grip. The ego loses its power. The pain body loses its strength. Let's break it down. You feel a thought of anger. You recognize it. You say silently, "I see this thought." It no longer controls you. It is no longer you. You feel a surge of anxiety. You breathe and notice, "This is anxiety. I am aware of it." The storm continues, but you do not drown in it. Every observation weakens the unconscious grip. Every pause restores power. Every moment of presence builds freedom. Awareness does not need a special method. It is simple. Notice your body. Notice your breath. Notice your thoughts. Do this without judgment. Do this without labeling. Do this with gentle curiosity. And you will feel something subtle. A quieting of mental noise. A softening of emotional tension. A sense of space opening inside. That space is freedom. Freedom does not mean you stop thinking. It does not mean you abandon life. It does not mean you become numb. Freedom means you are no longer a prisoner of thought. You act from clarity instead of reaction. You feel life fully without being controlled by it. Here is an important insight. Awareness allows life to flow through you, not because life changes, but because your relationship to it changes. Arguments are no longer personal attacks. Traffic jams are no longer unbearable. Failures are no longer catastrophes. Pain becomes a teacher instead of a tyrant. When you practice awareness consistently, two things happen. You stop identifying with the mind. You start identifying with presence. Presence is the eternal dimension of life. It is the I am behind thought, the silent essence that is always awake. And here's a subtle point many people miss. Awareness is not effortful. It is not a skill to master. It is noticing. It is returning. It is choosing now instead of being lost in past or future. The more you do this, the easier it becomes. The mind becomes a tool instead of a tyrant. You discover that the simplest acts, walking, breathing, listening, are miracles of presence. The practice of awareness is like a flame in the dark. At first it flickers. The ego, the mind, and the pain body try to blow it out. But each time you notice, each time you return, the flame grows. It grows until it illuminates the entire room, until it reveals the truth. You were never trapped. You were never broken. You were never the mind that told you so. And this realization, it is freedom. True freedom is not in changing life. It is in seeing life clearly. It is in becoming conscious. It is in the simple act of noticing. Imagine life flowing like a river. The current carries leaves, twigs, and debris. If you fight the current, you struggle. If you swim against it, you exhaust yourself. But awareness is not resistance. It is floating. It is merging with the flow while remaining anchored in clarity. And this is where miracles begin to happen. You act with intuition. You respond instead of reacting. You speak without anger. You move without haste. You live without being trapped in the noise of thought. Awareness is not a destination. It is the journey itself. Every breath brings you closer. Every pause brings you clarity. Every present moment confirms the truth. You are not your mind. You are not your pain. You are the awareness in which both appear. And once you realize this, life becomes a series of conscious choices instead of unconscious reactions. And in that space, freedom unfolds naturally. But if awareness can free you from thought and emotion, then how can you take this power into the chaos of everyday life, in work, in conversation, and in love?
Chapter 7. Finding Stillness in Daily Life. What if the most profound spiritual truth could be found in the ordinary moments of your day? And what if the key to peace was not escaping life, but fully entering it? Life is full of noise, traffic, emails, chores, conversations, deadlines, responsibilities. Everywhere we go, there is movement, activity, thought, and demand. It is easy to think that presence belongs to meditation cushions or remote retreats, but that is a misconception. The truth is, the present moment is everywhere. It is in the midst of chaos. It is in the middle of your workday. It is in the conversations you have. It is in every step you take. The challenge is noticing it. Most people live their days unconsciously. They respond out of habit. They react out of thought. They act out of memory or expectation. They move through life like a machine. And yet, there is a different way. A simple shift transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary. Bring awareness into everything. Every task, no matter how mundane, becomes an opportunity for presence. When you wash dishes, feel the water. Notice its temperature. Notice the sound as it hits the sink. Notice your hands moving through it. When you walk,
Feel each step. Notice the sensation of your feet touching the ground. Notice the rhythm of your breath. When you speak, listen deeply, not just to your words, but to the space between words, not just to their meaning, but to the life behind them. Even in the busiest, most stressful moments, awareness is available. Awareness does not require stopping activity. It does not require changing the world. It requires only observing, only noticing, only returning to now. Here is the subtle power of this. The mind thrives on future and past. It feeds on worry and regret. It tries to dominate every moment. Presence interrupts this pattern. It is the pause between thoughts. It is the still point within movement. It is the calm eye in the storm. And once you discover it, your entire life changes. You will notice reactions soften. Arguments become opportunities to practice presence. Noise becomes less distracting. Pressure becomes manageable. Pain becomes lighter. The key is consistent return. Whenever you notice that you are lost in thought, simply come back. Return to your body. Return to your breath. Return to what is happening now. Even a few seconds of genuine presence can transform the quality of life. Presence is like a muscle. The more you practice it, the stronger it becomes. And the extraordinary happens. You begin to see a flow in life that was always there but invisible. You begin to feel peace inside the busyness. You begin to realize that life is never outside of you. Life is this moment. Every relationship, every interaction becomes a practice ground. Every challenge becomes a teacher. Every routine task becomes a doorway to stillness. And stillness does not remove activity. It enhances it. It allows you to act with clarity, not reaction. It allows you to move without attachment to outcome. It allows you to engage fully without being consumed. The mind will resist this practice. It will tell you, you are wasting time. It is impossible to remain present. You cannot feel peace while the world demands action. Do not listen. The mind wants control. Presence wants life. Choose presence. Return. Observe. Breathe. Act. Slowly, you will notice a subtle joy arising. Not loud, not dramatic, but deep, enduring. And as you walk through life this way, something miraculous occurs. Even ordinary moments become sacred. Every breath becomes a gift. Every encounter becomes a reflection of your own consciousness. Every step becomes meditation. And you begin to realize you do not need to escape life to find peace. You need only to enter it fully. But if presence can transform ordinary moments, then what happens when you bring this awareness into your most intimate relationships, where the ego is strongest and emotions run deepest?
Chapter 8. Relationships as Spiritual Teachers. What if every conflict, every argument, and every heartbreak was trying to teach you something essential? And what if the people you love most could awaken you in ways nothing else can? Relationships are mirrors. They reflect not only the world, but also your inner state.
They reveal your unconscious patterns, hidden fears, and unhealed wounds. Most people look at relationships as sources of happiness or pain. They think, if only they were different, I would be free. But true insight comes from a different perspective. Relationships are spiritual teachers. Every irritation, every argument, and every heartbreak is trying to teach you something essential. And what if the people you love most could awaken you in ways nothing else can? Relationships are mirrors. They reflect not only the world, but also your inner state. They reveal your unconscious patterns, hidden fears, and unhealed wounds. Most people look at relationships as sources of happiness or pain. They think, if only they were different, I would be free. But true insight comes from a different perspective. Relationships are spiritual teachers. Every irritation, every resentment, and every emotional trigger is an invitation to awareness. Notice this. Someone says something hurtful. Immediately, anger or defensiveness rises. Your ego feels attacked. Your pain body awakens. What is happening here? The moment is not about the other person. It is about you. It is about what still lives unobserved inside you. Relationships magnify your unconsciousness. They bring it to the surface, and they do it relentlessly. The problem is not them. The problem is the identification with your inner patterns. And this is a profound truth. If you can become aware in the midst of a relationship, you can experience transformation in real time. Awareness interrupts the habitual reactions. It dissolves the need for validation. It releases the compulsion to control or defend. Imagine this. You are in a heated discussion. Your mind screams, your emotions flare. But somewhere inside, you notice, this is my ego reacting. This is my pain body awakening. I see it. Suddenly, there is a pause. A space opens. You respond rather than react. You communicate with clarity. You act with presence. This is freedom in action. Relationships can also awaken love. Not the romantic, idealized kind, but the kind that is deep, unconditional, and rooted in being. When you are present with someone, without judgment, without expectation, without clinging, the essence of love emerges naturally. It is not forced. It does not depend on their behavior. It simply is. And here is the subtlety. Even difficult people can become your greatest teachers. Those who challenge you, provoke you, or irritate you can illuminate the unconscious aspects of your mind faster than anyone else. The secret is not to fix them, not to control them, not to escape from them. The secret is awareness. To see clearly, to notice reactions as they arise, to remain anchored in presence. This is how suffering in relationships ends. It does not end because the other person changes. It ends because you stop reacting unconsciously. You stop feeding the pain body. You stop identifying with the ego. And once this happens, your relationships transform. Conflict becomes clarity. Misunderstanding becomes insight. Attachment becomes freedom. Every interaction becomes a spiritual practice. Every disagreement becomes a doorway. Every touch, word, and glance becomes an opportunity for awakening. You begin to see that you are not separate from others.
Your ego insists on separateness. Your pain body insists on conflict. Presence insists on unity. And in that unity, love arises naturally, not as a pursuit, not as a dependency, but as the natural state of being fully aware and fully present with another. This is the power of relationships as spiritual teachers. They do not give you peace, they force you to find it. They do not give you love, they force you to discover it inside yourself. And once you learn this, even the most challenging relationships become sacred. But if relationships can awaken you, then what happens when presence teaches you to find peace that does not depend on anyone or anything outside yourself?
Chapter 9. Inner Peace That Isn't Conditional. What if the peace you've been chasing has never existed in the outside world? And what if true calm is not earned, achieved, or acquired, but already resides within you? Most people look for peace in circumstances: a quiet home, a supportive partner, a paycheck, a promotion. But life never guarantees calm. Life is unpredictable, messy, and often harsh. That is why peace based on conditions is always temporary. It comes and goes like a tide. It rises when everything fits and collapses the moment something fails. True peace does not depend on external events. It is not tied to luck, timing, or people. It is an inner state anchored in awareness. Notice this. When you are fully present, observing life without judgment, chaos can happen, yet you remain calm. A storm may rage outside, a conflict may erupt at work, a loved one may disappoint, and still, you are anchored. You are present. You are peaceful. This is the difference between conditioned peace and true inner peace. Conditioned peace is fragile. It hides behind circumstances. It demands life to fit its expectations. True inner peace is unconditional. It is independent of events. It is not affected by gain or loss. It is not disturbed by opinion, criticism, or circumstance. How do you access this peace? Through presence, through awareness, through the simple but radical act of noticing now. Stop identifying with the mind. Stop believing that thoughts define reality. Stop reacting unconsciously to emotion. Instead, witness. Notice what arises. Feel the body. Observe the breath. Return to the moment. The moment becomes your anchor. Your life becomes stable. Your mind becomes a servant instead of a master. Even the simplest awareness can create profound peace. A single conscious breath, a single moment of observing the body, a single pause before reacting, and slowly, the mind relaxes. The pain body loses intensity. The ego begins to quiet. You begin to realize peace has nothing to do with conditions. It is the natural state of consciousness. It is always present, even if obscured by thought and identification. And here's the most important point. This peace is not a reward for effort. It is the recognition of what always exists. It is not created. It is uncovered. It is like the sun behind clouds. The clouds are your thoughts, your stories, your fears. The sun, presence, has always been there. It simply waits for you to notice it. This is why presence is revolutionary. It frees you from the endless cycle of seeking. It frees you from attachment. It frees you from the tyranny of the mind. It frees you from the idea that life must be fixed before you can be happy. When you are present, happiness is no longer a goal. Happiness is your natural state. When you are present, peace is no longer conditional. It is already here. And once you discover this, everything changes. Daily life becomes easier. Stress becomes lighter.
Fear becomes a teacher. Love becomes unconditional. You stop running toward the future. You stop regretting the past. You simply live, fully, now, here. This is the essence of inner peace, not resisting life, not avoiding suffering, not chasing perfection, simply being fully awake in this moment. Presence transforms ordinary existence into a sanctuary. It allows you to be at home in the world. It allows you to navigate challenges with clarity and grace. It allows life to unfold without constant struggle. And once you experience this, you begin to realize that life itself is the teacher. Every moment, no matter how painful or joyful, becomes an opportunity to awaken. But if inner peace can be found in presence, then what happens when you face death, loss, or the ultimate unknown? And presence shows you a freedom beyond fear itself.
Chapter 10. Beyond Time. The Freedom of Being. What if the ultimate freedom is not something you achieve, but something you recognize? And what if life itself is not a problem to solve, but a presence to inhabit? Everything you have learned so far leads to this moment. The present is all there is. Time, as the mind perceives it, is an illusion. The ego, the false self, and the pain body all fade when you step fully into now. You are not your mind. You are not your story. You are awareness itself. Death, loss, disappointment, and change, these are not enemies. They're teachers. They reveal the impermanence of form and the eternity of being. When the mind fears death, it imagines an ending. But awareness sees that life is eternal. Presence is beyond birth and beyond death. It simply is. All the suffering, all the struggles, all the attachments, they dissolve when you live in this realization. Imagine life like a river. The river flows, carrying experiences, people, emotions, and events. The river has no beginning and no end. The water changes constantly, yet the river itself remains. You are that river. You are the flow of life itself. When you surrender to presence, fear disappears, anger fades, desire loosens its grip. You realize that nothing outside you can touch your true self. And here is the final, most profound truth. Life is not a puzzle to solve. It is not a problem to fix. It is not a destination to reach. Life is presence. Life is awareness. Life is now. You do not have to wait to be free. You do not have to earn enlightenment. You do not have to overcome struggle to be whole. You only need to notice. You only need to return. You only need to awaken. Every breath, every heartbeat, every sensation is a doorway. Every moment is an opportunity to touch the eternal. Every presence-filled pause is a return home. And once you live this truth, life becomes miraculous. Ordinary tasks are sacred. Ordinary people are teachers. Ordinary moments are eternity. The journey does not end here. It continues in each conscious breath. It continues in each step you take. It continues in every encounter, every thought, and every awareness of now. You are free. You are whole. You are alive. And the beauty of it is, this freedom is always present. It cannot be taken away. It cannot be lost. It can only be forgotten when attention wanders. Return to presence. Return to awareness. Return to now.
And each time you do, you awaken a little more. You suffer a little less. You live a little fuller. This is the eternal power of now. This is the freedom of being. This is the ultimate gift, life itself, experienced fully, consciously, completely. Remember this. The journey of awakening does not end with a chapter, a book, or even a lifetime. It continues in your breath, in your awareness, in the way you notice the world and the stillness behind it. Every moment is a new page. Every moment is a chance to return home. The mind may resist, the ego may protest, the world may challenge. Yet the truth remains, you are presence, you are awareness, you are now. Carry this awareness into every day. Let it transform work, love, pain, joy, and silence. Let it illuminate every ordinary moment, and let it remind you that life is not a problem to solve. It is a presence to inhabit. Live it, feel it, be it. And when you return to this channel for more audiobooks, may you carry the gift of now with you in every breath, every thought, and every heartbeat. The power of now is not in reading, thinking, or planning. It is in being.